and they're always unhappy and they're always complaining. Why are you still here? Move on.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I figured, so I've had so many people saying, hey, TV, you gotta check this video out. TV, have you seen Glad's video? What did you think of Glad's video? There's been a lot of that. So I figured, hey, you know what? I don't have to do like reaction videos, but I'm gonna do one of those. But one of the things I hate is when reaction videos are mostly people watching other people's content and letting other people's content make them money. So I'll try to cut out a lot of the fluff and kind of like hone in on the points that Glad makes and kind of the big things. And then most of the video will be kind of me responding to those things. I think a lot of what Glad says in this video is spot on. I think there's some nuance, around the historicity of Destiny and the accuracy of some of the statements he makes that are a little bit off. I think the heart of his video is pretty accurate. I think this whole idea that Bungie's not going to do what you guys want them to do, PvP community, it might be time to move on if that's a breaking point for you, if that's like a deal breaker for you. So I think the heart of his video is spot on. Let's dive into this. And I will warn you, Glad and I have very different delivery methods. I love Glad. I have been in his streams a lot in the past years and interacted there. So love the guy, but his approach is not my approach. So if you're you wanting him to be family friendly, I will try to I'll bleep out some stuff because I do try to keep the swearing off of this channel because A, it helps with monetization, but also B, it kind of helps people be able to watch my content in in any setting. Let's dive in. And feel free to ignore the fact that all my recommended videos are either Destiny, Whiskey, or covers of classic rock tracks.
So this is bound to piss some people off, but I don't really give a because when have I ever? So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with my own experiences. You get really involved into this game, and you have all these ideas, hot takes, and constructive criticism, and everybody thinks that they know what the best version of the game is, right? And what I realized was it didn't matter like how much I would voice my opinion or how much the community would voice their opinion. Bungie had the direction that the game was going to go, and it didn't matter what I thought or what I wanted or what anybody wanted.
Okay, so real quick here, his like opening points are that Bungie is in charge of where the game is going. They have their vision for where the game is going, and it doesn't matter what he says or what he thinks or what feedback we give. Bungie was always going to continue with their direction. I think there are times in Destiny's history where this is true and times where it's not. I would say right now that's accurate. I think Bungie has shown, we've given lots of feedback as a PvP community for the last few years. And what we see them do is really double down, triple down, quadruple down on features and implementations that they think are good. And, on one hand, I respect the commitment. We really want this to work, and we're going to try and do whatever we need to do to make it work. But at the same time, if your community is constantly saying, we're not really vibing with that, maybe it's time to reconsider. But so right now, I think he's right. But I think there are parts in even Destiny 2's past where that's not true. We saw, obviously, when Destiny 2 launched and it crash, burn, bomb. So towards the tail end of that first year, they hosted the very first summit, remember? And those summits have continued, but they're not as big. They're not as big of a deal. It's more like getting feedback on things that they're doing, not necessarily getting advice on where to go from here. That first summit was different, though. And it wasn't just content creators. There were content creators there, but there were also press people. There were people from the Reddit community there. There were just general community leaders, like clan leaders and stuff like that, who are just playing the game and building a community in Destiny. There were some of them there, too. So it was this great hodgepodge of influencers in the community outside of just content creation. And we gave feedback, and they listened. They really listened. And, we had some great reactions to community feedback that were directly because players asked for it. We had things like the Go Fast update. which kind of took the training wheels off of our Guardians. We used to be kind of slow, but they took the training wheels off, and then it really opened things up in the Crucible. We had the removal of the 4v4 standard options, making it 6v6, the removal of skill-based matchmaking to make things more dynamic and explosive like they were during the Forsaken days. We had meaningful pinnacle weapons to chase and loot to chase. So there are definitely times in Destiny 2's past where this isn't necessarily true, where they were just going to double down, triple down on their vision, and it didn't matter what we said. So we have had seasons where they directly take community feedback and make implementations. Although that's not exactly where we are right now. I think he's right about that. Let's keep watching.
And I know people don't like to hear this, right? I know people don't like to hear this, but Destiny is a PVE game with PvP intertwined within it. But it is a PVE game at its core, and has always been and will always be a PVE game at its core with PvP mixed in, which gives it that cool blend of genres that we all know. If you take away PvP from Destiny, it's not Destiny anymore. Destiny needs the PvP in it.
Sure.
However, it's a PvE game. I mean, if you can't see that at this point, then you're lost.
So Destiny is a PvE game, not a PvP game. It's a PvE game with PvP included in the package, right? And it's just there and supported. Yeah, he's absolutely right. I mean, I feel like there's this stigma around the PvP community that for some reason we think that we deserve as much attention as the PvE side of the game gets. And I think that, I mean, obviously there's some people who probably think that, but they're a vast minority. The overwhelming majority of us completely agree. This is a PvE game, and it doesn't deserve, the PvP side doesn't deserve as much investment as PvE, because obviously PvE is what keeps Destiny moving forward. PvP is sort of like it's something that you fall back on for replayability once you've done all that PvE stuff. So the PvE stuff is it's where you get a lot of your cool loot, your exotics, new guns, random rolls, your nightfalls, your raid weapons. It's stuff like that. Your seasonal weapons that you're crafting, and then you're taking them into PvP. So it's not like I don't think there's any significant portion of the PvP community that would disagree, but I feel like PvEers look at PvPers and think and turn their noses up and think, oh, you guys think that you deserve as much as the PvE side gets. It's not a PvP. It's like, oh, we know that. We know that. We're not asking for that at all. But what we do want is for the PvP side of the game to be supported in the same way that it has been supported in the past, right? And this is going to be sort of a recurring theme throughout the video, is a lot of people, I think they put the blame on the PvP community where they're like, you guys are entitled. You sound entitled, like you want all these things. It was never going to happen. And then we as PvPers are saying, listen, we didn't actually ask for those things. They're things that we were told we were going to get. Or it's a standard that Bungie laid down, some precedent that they laid down that we just thought that it was going to continue. Like, it's not like we're over here thinking we need to get more, and we're asking for more. It's that Bungie actually said, you're going to get more, and this is what you're going to get. And we want to open up, this is actually something they've said, we want to open up the tap. They said this years ago. We want to open up the tap and let the PvP content flow. That's what we were told, right? So it's more that they set up that expectation, and we were just holding them to it, not the other way around. So yeah, we don't want the PvP side to get more love and attention and investment than PvE side. We just want them to allocate some resources to making sure that PvP doesn't fall behind, because in the past, PvP has at least gotten stuff in the same stride as PvE, albeit it's a lot less than the PvE side. PvE gets a new destination, new campaign, new raid, maybe new dungeons. In the past, slew of new strikes. It's like, yeah, that's like 90%. But we want we want our 10% cut. We want one new map, couple of new maps on those spaces in those new places that are tied to the new PvE content, and that was always the standard up until a certain point. But we weren't told it was no longer going to be the standard. I mean, Bungie came out in many DLC drops and they said, hey, here's 5 new maps. Here's a complete refresh to Shaxx's complete inventory, including a suite of new weapons, new armor sets. Here's a new game mode to play on those 5 new maps. And here's a new pinnacle weapon to chase. And Trials is going to get 3 new armor sets as well. And a suite of new weapons, not just 1 or 2. Like, we didn't lay that standard down. They did. Let's continue.
So the vibe that has been happening for years. And it's always been like this. It's like people want this, like Destiny. They want this Destiny PvP game to just have all of these focused updates on PvP, and they want it to be the next like competitive PvP game, you know. And it's never been like that. So I don't know where this even came from.
So I'm gonna disagree with him a bit here, where the vibe is that PvPers want the game to get these big PvP updates and to be this competitive thing. And I think this is another thing that I think from the outside looking in is sort of assumed about the PvP community, but it's not actually true. So far in this video, I've agreed with most of what he's saying, disagree on some of the nuance, but this is the only part where I would just say I flat out disagree. I mean, there are a select few in the PvP community that have ever assumed that we should get an entire season that's dedicated specifically to PvP, Season of the Crucible. I think the overwhelming majority of us knew that A, that was never going to happen, and B, that would actually be very bad for the health of the game. To have a whole season where there's no meaningful PvE progression would be like horrible for Destiny. So that's not something, I don't think that's anything that we've ever seriously considered. But as far as just like PvP focused updates go, not just like, you know, full seasons, but just updates, absolutely we should be getting that. And again, there's like this stigma that that's something that the PvP community seems like they're being entitled about. But the reality is that it's more that we're just holding Bungie to their word. Because even in a recent blog post, I mean, Joe Blackburn, love the guy. I think he's a fantastic guy for the position and the vision of Destiny. But in that blog post, he said, you know, we can't imagine a version of Destiny where PvP is not an integral part of the Destiny experience. It's got to be there. It's got to be supported. And we're like, well, yeah, we agree. It's like it's a standard they've laid down. And then if you actually rewind a bit, and I'm going to show you this because in my last discussion piece, I had some people who were like, yo, you got to start showing some receipts. Like, okay, well, I'll bring the receipts. I'm not going to just reference things. I'll show them to you too. So back in Rewind with me right before Shadowkeep dropped. So we're going years back now. And we got this this video. Well, it's actually, no, it wasn't a video. It was a live stream where, you know, Luke Smith and Noseworthy are talking, kind of laying down the vision, moving forward, Moon's Haunted, all that business. And in that, we got that infamous quote. They were like, they admitted, they said things are getting dry in Destiny 2 PvP. And the tap's like closed right now. And they made that quote about renewed focus. I'll play that for you. And then what they said later in that video as well, we'll unpack that a bit too.
Alright, it's time. It's about to get loud in here. 1v1. 1v1.
Look at these legends.
One of the things we really want to focus on, especially with Season 8 and the start of Shadowkeep, is a renewed focus on PvP.
You're all on the team.
We're updating labs to...
I mean, these are legends here. I love, like, part of me loves looking at this video and just kind of remembering, you know, back when these guys were involved. You know, we got Cosmo here, DMG, Lars Bakken, who's, you know, like a personal hero of mine in the gaming world, and Truman. You know, these are great folks here. But yeah, I mean, that was the infamous renewed focus on PvP. So then later in that same stream, Dado sits down with a number of people, and at one point with Luke Smith, who was, you know, game lead at the time, and he kind of further unpacks this renewed focus on PvP and what exactly that means. And here's what he had to say.
Comp is pretty bare bones, and PvP has been, or has felt neglected over the past year.
The like crappy metaphor for the way I'm thinking about this is we have like some additions we want to make to the house, but first we've got to like look at the house and repair the foundation, and we've got like work to do and maintenance to do, and we have to do more upkeep, and you know, than we've been doing for sure. You know, I know people love trials. I certainly love trials. What we're trying to do with Destiny, and this is gonna tie in maybe if you decide to ask another question about the moon. What we're trying to do with Destiny going forward, like the total plan aside from the vision is we want it to be the ultimate version of the game over time, and that's kind of where we're heading.
Okay.
So what Luke is saying here, again, this is right before Shadowkeep drops. Okay, what he's saying here is we have big plans for PvP. So Dado's question is specifically about PvP. This isn't about just the general questions of the game. This is specifically about comp, trials, and PvP. And what Luke says is we got some work to do. We want to make some additions onto the house. And he said, this is my crappy metaphor. I want to make some big additions onto the house and expand the PvP experience. But before we do that, we've got a lot of like groundwork to lay. and just some basic support things that we need to do to prepare the Crucible for this new trend moving forward, where we want to have this pace where it's constantly, we're building onto it. And so when we heard this, and this is why you always hear, I know it's sort of a meme at this point, everyone's referring to that renewed focus. That's because we got our hopes pretty high. It's not because we're entitled. It's not because we were begging for stuff or thought that we deserved it. It's because Bungie told us we deserved it and that it was coming. You know what I mean? So that's the difference there, right? So we believed them and we waited. And after some time, we got Trials of Osiris back. And I will say, I'm very glad they did that. I think Trials of Osiris, especially when it first came out, and those seasons that followed, was super fun. We all had a blast doing it. But we kind of thought that when they said they were going to start building additions onto the game, we didn't think that that would be it. You know what I mean? Just a game mode returning. We thought that it was going to be a continuing process of building and getting back to that point where it's the pace that they laid down previously with Destiny's history, was whenever there was big PvE content drops, PvP got a package of stuff with it, right? It wasn't the focus. It wasn't even close to being half of the content. It was just a package of content. There was new development that came alongside it. And so we kind of were led to assume that that was going to start happening again. So that tap, if you will, opened for a season and then it turned right back off. Fast forward to a later date, 2021. Where you have this thread from Joe Blackburn, game director for Destiny 2, which I have a lot of respect for Joe. Every time I've interacted with Joe, be it summits, visits to Bungie, whatever, he's always a really stand-up guy. He's very passionate about the game, and I think he's very well qualified for that position. But he talks here about PvP, and this is late in 2021, so I want to take time to talk about PvP. Competitive modes are part of what makes this game special. So, I mean, when you hear the guy in charge saying, like, PvP is a big deal, we think it's a big deal. And he even in a blog post that sort of accompanied this, he said that, the replayability value of Destiny, part of that is, like, a big part of that is PvP. So he kind of builds it up like, yeah, this is super important, for sure. So this year, the team has spent a lot of our future-facing effort on plussing up the current Crucible experience. So this is all going to sound like history repeating itself. You think about what Luke said about we have some groundwork to lay. We've got to do like some boring work first, and then we can build. Then we can start opening up the tap, start building additions onto the house. And then that didn't really come to a fruition the way that we thought it was going to. And we kept waiting. And then we kind of get told the same thing again. So we've got to keep our foot on the gas when it comes to revitalizing PvP pursuits and keeping gameplay metas fresh. This is something that we'll never be done with, but we know that we also have room to grow when it comes to new maps and modes. Now, I will say in their favor, we have gotten lots of new modes, which is cool. Some of them have gone over well, others have not, but at least they're innovating in the modes area, which I respect. But modes are only a part of what they're talking about here. Obviously, he leads with maps. He said, we believe in this investment, but it's going to take some time before you start seeing the results. The ultimate goal here is consistency. If you play PvP, the team wants you to understand that you will be getting new maps and modes every year, and that the cadence of those coming out feels predictable. But in order to get predictable, and here's that analogy, we need to open the faucet again. And if they delivered on that, it would be similar to what we used to get, where a major DLC would come out every year, and in that major DLC, 4 to 5 maps, you know what I'm saying? That was sort of a trend earlier in Destiny's history. So we thought that maybe we were going to get back there, and if it was trickle-fed throughout the year, that'd be fine if we didn't get them all in one big chunk, but we kind of got them over time. But it's not really been an open, I can't call it an open tap, you know what I mean? So again, this is history repeating itself with them saying, we've got work to do before you're going to start seeing the new additions. And it's like, we've kind of been strung along, you know what I mean? We've been strung along throughout all of this. So to speak to Glad's claim about us wanting the game to be competitive, comp was never really our idea. I mean, Destiny's PvP charm has always been the loose and fast and chaotic nature of the game. And we just wanted Destiny to keep its trajectory and continue that fun, wild game, right? The competitive community is tiny. I mean, they really are. They're tiny, even smaller than they used to be in recent years. And they were honestly doing just fine making Destiny competitive all on their own. They were hosting their own tournaments, serving rule sets, and all that stuff. And they were never really, Glad seems to think that, he says at least, that we want the game to be this competitive thing that's never going to be. The overwhelming majority of us never wanted that. We're never pushing for that. But anyways, he says that we wanted the game to be this competitive thing. And just kind of looking back at what the leaders of the game have been saying, that's not what we're wanting. We just wanted the tap to be open. We wanted a constant infusion of new content alongside PvE content, like they said we were going to get. So the whole comp thing was really like Bungie's idea, right? They launched Destiny 2 4v4 with the survival comp mode, which was dead on arrival, if you remember correctly. That was never something that we were like asking for actively. Like, we were fine doing the comp thing on our own. Most of the things that the comp community wanted that you would see them ask for was more like, we just wanted better tools to support ourselves. So, private matches, advanced settings, even things like spectator mode, more control over how they can set up their arenas and rule sets and stuff. And that's fine. Most of them were not asking for direct development on a competitive mode for the game. But if it was there, we were going to play it. And if Bungie was insistent on pushing that out, then we were going to get feedback on it and let them know how it needed to change over time. So yeah, it's not that the PvP community was like expecting or wanting or feeling entitled about having a competitive experience in the game. I don't think that's a really accurate statement. Let's continue.
I hope that the PvP gets service, but it's never going to be a priority. They're not just going to drop all the PvE and just balance the game on PvP.
So it says, I hope PvP gets service, but it's never going to be a priority. They're not just going to drop PvE and balance the game on PvP. Listen, I love and respect Glad, but he has said himself that he's not a PvP guy, right? And his PvP interactions in the Destiny 2 community have historically been fairly limited, so I don't necessarily fault him here, but this is certainly a misconception about the PvP community. Some 12-year-old Yahoo might say stuff like that about PvP, but most of us would never dream of saying Bungie needs to drop PvE and balance the game around PvP. I mean, we've been proponents, the PvP community, we've been proponents of PvE and PvP balance being separate ever since Vex Mythoclast in Destiny 1, because before as a content creator, I was like a forum junkie, and especially in the PvP side of those forums on Bungie.net. And back then, there were so many posts where people were saying, listen, this gun is so cool, don't nerf it in PvE. But it definitely needs to be reined in PvP. It's kind of breaking the game, Don't nerf it in PvE, but definitely bring it in back down in PvP. We've been proponents for separate balance and preserving the integrity of PvE since the beginning, right? So yeah, we don't think it needs to be a priority over PvE, but we do think it needs to be a priority. I mean, they've got a PvP team there, and we do firmly believe that they deserve more funding and more people than they currently have. I mean, I've known many of the PvP team folks over the years, and they are just as passionate about Destiny PvP as we are. I think they deserve more support from the front office, especially, and this is the kicker, especially when the front office is the ones telling us that PvP is important and they have big plans for it. So I think the team needs more support in order to match that vision. So the only reason we think it needs to be a priority is because Bungie told us it was going to be, and that's their vision for the game. Let's continue.
You're not gonna get what you want out of Destiny's PvP. I'm pretty sure we've made that clear now for all of Destiny 1 and now a couple years into Destiny 2, and then another year goes by.
Okay, so this is, you're not gonna get what you want out of the game. We've made that clear all through Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. There's some truth to this, but I think it's more nuanced than that as well. He's right, many PvPers aren't happy. Right, and they have said that year after year after year. Yeah, but it's the second half of that statement that it's been like that all of D1 and D2 that I think is a miss. It's like I said before, there were incredible seasons for PvP in the past. I mean, House of Wolves, it wasn't perfect, but it was a huge step forward. The introduction of Trials and the incredible months that followed in D1 were great. The Taken King, when that dropped, 7 new Crucible maps, 3 new modes, 3 new subclasses. And then Warmind started moving PvP in an awesome direction. They canned skill-based matchmaking. We got our first pinnacle PvP weapon in the form of the Redrix's Claymore. We had the Go Fast update just a few months before that, which made PvP much more dynamic and explosive. Forsaken Do you guys remember this? Forsaken gave us 5 new maps and another pinnacle. I mean, there have been seasons where PvPers were eating good. We were eating good. We were happy. You think of the 30th anniversary update, and even during the most recent Guardian Games event with the Return of Supremacy, like the PvP complaining went down considerably for those weeks. And then when it went away, it came back up. So to say that it's always been bad and we should expect it to be bad, I think is a miss. I think the reason why PvPers are upset is because we know what it's like when it's good. And when it's good, it's really freaking good. It's so freaking fun. It has the potential to be one of the best PvP shooters on the market for PvP. Because it has been that in the not so distant past. So it's more that we know what it can be with the right amount of love and attention from Bungie. Oh, before we continue watching though, I want to show you something. Can I show you something? I just whipped this up, but I felt like it was a good representation, right? So do you want to see what it's like to eat good? You know, I'm constantly talking about the standard that Bungie laid down in history and how we're not necessarily entitled, we're just expecting upkeep. Why did the lines get all... Something went wrong on the download on this file because not all of the lines are there. They look kind of funky, don't they? But anyways, it still makes sense. You can still see my cursor, right? So Destiny 2 launch. This is maps. To be clear, this is how maps released in Destiny 2. Destiny 2 maps. 14 maps total on launch of Destiny 2 with the Red War campaign. 3 of them were D1 maps. So 14 total, 3 of them were Destiny 1 maps. So down here, a little bit of a visual representation. There's supposed to be grids here. I don't know why I didn't download, but this would be 1, 2. The yellow dot is how many Destiny 1 reprised maps. 3 of those. 11 red dot is brand new maps. 11 brand new maps. 3 Destiny 1 maps. 3 months later, okay? Just 3 months later, Curse of Osiris drops, which had a rocky reception, but it had 3 brand new maps. 3 brand new maps. And then just 5 months later, we got 2 new maps. Solitude Meltdown. 2 new maps with the Warmind DLC. 4 months later, boom. So this is technically the start of year 2 in Destiny 2. 5 maps. Only one of them was a reprised map. 4 of them were brand new maps. So red dot is new ones. Yellow dot is reprised ones. So here you go. This is basically in 12 months. Basically 12 months. We had 24 maps in Destiny 2. So this is like in the first year, this is sort of what we got used to. This was the standard, right? Now we didn't expect that the subsequent DLCs were going to bring 14 maps, right? That was Destiny 2 launch. But we thought maybe we were going to continue this thing where, look at this. Outside of the launch of Destiny 2, we got 10. We got 10 maps in that first year, separate from the launch of D2. In the next 13 months, so here's the comparison, right? 10 maps, between these time jumps here, 10 new maps, and in a year, 13 months later, Shadowkeep. We got 1 brand new map, 2 reprised Destiny 1 maps. That's when they closed the tap. You understand? So hopefully this, I know these got fudged up, these lines, but hopefully this is a good visual representation for you to help you understand the standard they set and then how drastically and immediately that standard was broken. Now we do try to offer a little bit of grace here because of the split with Activision. Understandable. We get that. We'll give a little bit of grace here. And we're hoping that it'll turn around. But yeah, this is over a year later. Only 3 maps came with Shadowkeep, but 2 of them were reprised Destiny 1 maps. They weren't new, and 1 of them was a brand new map in Shadowkeep, Fragment. Season of Dawn, we get 1 Destiny 1 map returning. 3 months after that, Season of the Worthy, we got 3 Destiny 1 maps. So there's no brand new maps here. 2 years and 2 months after Season of the Worthy. 2 years and 2 months after Season of the Worthy. 1 new map. So the gap between new maps, look at this, is almost 3 years. That's wild. Now, during all of that time, the PvE side of the game kept getting new spaces, new skyboxes, new raids, dungeons, all these super cool things. And we're over here like, please, sir, may I have just one morsel? I would like a morsel, please. But this is where you start seeing the community start getting upset. Here's where they told us the tap was going to open and we're going to get back to building on the Crucible. This is what we expected right here. And this is what we got. 1-1. Hopefully that visual representation is helpful for you. Let us continue. So I hope that I'm helping put it into perspective. It's a really good thing. It's a great character trait to be able to change your mind. Not very many people have the capacity to do that. Most people will double down, triple down, quadruple down on what they think they already believe. And it doesn't matter what you say. But I hope that at least some of you will have the capacity to look at that and understand and stop seeing PvPers as this entitled group. But understand that all they're doing is trying to hold Bungie to their word. What they said was going to happen and expressing their frustration that they didn't deliver. Let's continue the video.
PvP, not happy. Why aren't we getting this? We haven't got this. We haven't seen this. And it's like, dog, what year is it now? How many years are we going to go over this? Like, you keep expecting these things from Bungie, and it's very clear that this is not where their attention and their efforts are and their energy and their money is going towards. Like, their money is going towards.
Right. Yeah. It is kind of clear that that's where their money and effort and attention and focus is going. But that's not what they're saying. And that's the disconnect.
Right. Destiny doesn't hate the PvP community. It's just Destiny is not a competitive PvP game for like 6 years now. And then another year goes by, and another year goes by.
Right. We don't want it to be a competitive game. We just want it to be supported, want it to be continued, want it to be pushed forward alongside the rest of Destiny 2. That's all.
And it's just at the point where it's like all these PvP players do. I'm not lumping every PvP player in the entire world. There's tons of people that are making changes, and I respect that, and I appreciate you, and I hope that you find happiness. But overall, the general vibe of Destiny and what the PvP players want is it's just constant disappointment and never getting what they want, and always thinking that there's something around the corner or the next update, or that they're entitled to this or entitled to that, or that this needs to happen, or that Bungie hasn't been servicing them, or what kind of like, are they even listening? It's just like all these things that are just made up, that have never ever been a thing in the first place, and they're always unhappy and they're always complaining. Why are you still here?
So first half of this, like I said, I agree. I mean, it's kind of clear where Bungie's resources, time, energy, and effort are going, right? Like I said, I think you're spot on there. Second half, like we've kind of been over, I don't want to rehash what we've already gone over in the video, but I think it's dead wrong in the second half about it never being a thing in the first place, and these are all expectations that we are making up.
Just made up.
I don't think that's accurate. Again, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here because he's been doing variety for a while now, and I'm super happy for him. But we didn't make any of that up. Like we've said several times in the video with references to prove it, Bungie set the standard. We are going to get back to having the tap open. So there's stuff right around the corner, you're just going to have to wait. And it's going to be epic, right? That's the standard that they laid down. So it's not something that we made up. It's not something that was never a thing in the first place either, like we've already established. There have been times where the tap was open and we were eating good, and we know what that can look like. So they said those things, and we believed them. Now, if you want to criticize that, I'm totally fine with that. If you want to look at me and be like, TV, this is your fault because you believed them, I'm open to that criticism. Yeah, I thought we could take them at their word. I mean, yeah, I did. I did believe them when they said we're laying the groundwork, we're going to open the tap, it's going to be like the old days where the PvP tap is open, it's developed, it's continued, it's built upon. So maybe that's the one point of criticism that I'm like, yeah, totally fair that we believed them, and you want to, I'm doing the dado pose up there. That's going to be my thumbnail. But anyways, you want to criticize us for believing them, that's totally fair. We did believe them, and maybe we shouldn't have. I just thought that we could, so sue me. I thought that they were going to honor that commitment, that promise. Glad continues.
Move on. like you are so stuck that in this thing that is just going to spin and spin and spin and spin and spin, and it's never going to go anywhere. And you're literally just making zero progress, and yet you still have the same upsetting, negative, complaining, unhappy vibes that you're just projecting to the entire community, and then it just snowballs. Dude, it's just negative energy just all the time. And it just gets worse every season and every season and every season, and it's the same conversations all the time. It's just exhausting, draining.
So again, as with most of this video, I agree with like half of what he's saying here. Half of what he's saying, absolutely, you're stuck. You're always complaining and you're pulling the whole vibe down of the community. You're pulling everybody down with your negativity. Yeah, some of this is true. Yeah, many PvPers are stuck. He's not wrong about that. He's not wrong about that, right? And at this point, if you're unhappy with the game, you definitely should take breaks. Alternate your gaming with other titles. Maybe even set it down permanently if it's a deal breaker for you. All of those things are great choices, healthy choices. Nothing wrong with that. But the second half of that statement, I have to laugh. The second half of that statement makes it sound like PvPers are ungrateful and they're killing the vibe for the PvEers who are like, we're just trying to like our game, bro. Why do you keep whining and complaining and bringing the whole vibe down? All I can say to that is, like, imagine that the kid with a full stomach is looking at the kid that's wasting away and telling them that they complain too much. You know, you should know by now that when mommy and daddy say that they're making dinner, you should know by now that that means they're making dinner for me. And you're going to get whatever's left over, you know, after the rest of us are finished eating. You're bringing the vibe down, man. I'm just trying to enjoy my sandwich, but your complaint over there is bringing the vibe down. I know it's not a perfect metaphor, but that's sort of the way that it feels sometimes for PvPers who keep hearing that they're important, stuff is coming for them, but all the new spaces, skyboxes, raids, dungeons, that PvE good food that looks so delicious, and we just want a little bit. We just want a little bit. That's all we want. That's all. We just want a little bit of it, so please don't hate us for that. You know, it's like, you're bringing the vibe down, guys. Like, we're not trying to. We just want a little bit of what you got. Just a morsel, please.
Like, if you're in chat right now and you're one of these people and you feel extremely called out and you're like, I mean, that's me, right? I'm not here to make you feel bad. I'm knocking on your skull and I'm saying, wake the f up, because nothing's gonna change.
Wake the F up, because nothing's gonna change. Yeah, he's probably right here. He's probably spot on here. We're late in the game. I mean, the finish line for the Light versus Dark saga for Destiny 2 as we know it is literally right in front of us. So if you're expecting any meaningful change at this point, you're probably gonna be disappointed, because I don't think that is a realistic expectation.
And if Destiny comes out with a huge PvP revamp, you know, the whole game becomes a PvP focused, I'll eat my words. But
No. We don't expect that. We never wanted that. Most of us PvPers actually are really into the PvE side of things, you know? We do our raids, dungeons, we love getting that loot. PvP is just where we take all that gear to play around with it.
So you're gonna keep living in your little unhappy bubble expecting Destiny PvP to become exactly what you want it to be. It's never going to become exactly what you want it to be, and you need to move on, and you need to realize this and have some self-awareness and knock on your own up skull, because it's the same shit every year. Just limiting your playtime to like 2 hours a day or a couple hours a week, and then doing other things that make you happy. That could be other games, that could be other hobbies.
Sure.
Like, I want people to be happy. That's ultimately what this comes down to.
Well, sure. Yeah, it's healthy to set boundaries if the state of Destiny is affecting your character, is affecting the value of your quality of life, which it arguably has too much control of you if that's the case. But yeah, with gaming in general, I think it's good to set healthy boundaries.
I don't like seeing people so upset all the time. Anybody under the age of 20, Destiny's been around for literally over half of your life.
So there you have it. That's Glad's thoughts on PvP. The truth that Destiny PvP players don't want to hear. I think the heart of his video is spot on, right? That change isn't going to happen. And if it's a deal breaker for you, if it's affecting your quality of life, it's time to move on. Yeah, absolutely 100% agree with him in that capacity. The only disconnect I have is with the historicity and the standards that Bungie laid down. I don't think it's entirely the PvPers, PvP community's fault that they're unhappy. And I think that there's this, I just want to squash that bug, that stigma that PvPers are at fault somehow for the state of PvP and their degree of happiness with the game. And I feel like this is somehow an outlier thought, but I just think that it's maybe the developers have some ownership here or the state of the game and the happiness of their community. Good glory. My dog is going wild above me. I apologize. But anyways, I think maybe the developer has some ownership in the quality of the game and the happiness of their community, especially when the community gives feedback and they make promises and they set standards and then they don't live up to those standards and they don't deliver on those promises. I think that that's more on them than it is on the PvP community. And if you disagree with me, you're welcome to do so. I welcome conversation, but that's certainly how I see it. And that's why I referenced all of these moments, blog posts, videos, etc., where they make big promises about PvP and they don't deliver on it. I know that was like info dump, but I enjoy these conversations. I enjoy the conversation that ensues in the comment section. I have read every comment on my last discussion piece, which was a lot of comments. Like at this point, it's up to 1,000 comments on that video. And I want you to know, I read all of those. Some of them were mean. Some of them were very nice and respectful. And most of them were somewhere in between. But I do enjoy the conversation that ensues from these videos. So thank you, Glad, for sharing your thoughts. And he did give me permission to do a reaction video. I made sure to reach out to him first. So appreciate you, brother. Love you guys. Be warm and well fed. And I hope to catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.